Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann.
And I'm number one fan, Tim.
I had to go to court for a client the other day.
Okay.
I love going to court to watch. Not so much when I have to go there and testify for anything for a client.
Because you're not watching at that point.
Right, because then I got to worry about fucking up something I'm going to say. My favorite versus going to any court that deals with power of attorney stuff. Dominion over a person or their property or the estate. It's boring shit. Anytime you go to criminal court, yay! It's fucking awesome to sit there through all that shit. And let me tell you some stories about the circus that I witnessed that day.
Here we go again.
I get there, and there's this black dude. Now, it doesn't matter that he's black, but I want to describe him to you. He's in his late 40s to early 50s, and he is not dressed for court. He's kind of dressed like he's going to church, but he's not dressed for court. He looks like he's just like, whatever, I don't give a fuck. It gets to his case, he goes before the judge. So here's the story. This guy has had dozens, I mean multiple dozens of complaints for the cops to go to his house because of suspected drug activity and shit like that. So they want to send him to prison, or at least local confinement in a jail. Mm-hmm. This man has done hard time in Maryland and Illinois. And he's got a felony score of 8. That's bad. The more points you got, the worse you are. So his attorney, who I don't fucking envy at all, is sitting here talking about this guy, and he's in treatment. And for the first time in his life, he's taking sobriety seriously, and he's making inroads to bettering himself. And then they come out and say that he's 52 fucking years old. And I'm like, 52 fucking years old? He probably should have figured this shit out 3 decades ago. And then the prosecution attorney is like, I get that he's in treatment, but he's got that felony score of 8. That's pretty high. And here, let me read this victim impact statement from the neighborhood. And it's a lot of boo-hooing from the people in the neighborhood. But it boils down to multiple complaints of used needles in his front yard, people coming and going all hours of the day and night, a couple of people fucking in a car in his backyard one time. Yeah, the fact that the neighbors don't want to let their kids outside when he's around.
You get in trouble for that?
Having sex in a car in broad daylight in the backyard?
Yard?
It wasn't him.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, in a private residence.
Anytime that children can see, you better hope you're not trying to show them. But, yeah, it is illegal to fuck in a car in broad daylight. So don't do it.
I never did it during the day. It's always been night.
Well, right, but still also not legal.
Even in my own yard.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Well, don't let the neighbors fucking see you then.
Well, I can't help it if they're looking outside, not doing it.
Okay, the moral to this story here is not don't have sex in a car. It's don't get caught having sex in a car.
I know.
Get better at it. So you can do it faster, more efficiently, and hide it. Anyways, so the prosecution, it's like a slam dunk. And the fucking, I'm assuming, public defender that he had keeps going in circles on this. I just don't see how it's beneficial to send him to prison or jail. He's going to come out of this, and any of the progress that he has made towards sobriety and holding a job and this, that, and the other is going to be erased.
He might not be able to hold a job while in prison, but I'm sure he'll be sober.
So I was completely against this guy. I was like, fuck this dude. He's a career criminal. And then he starts talking. And then he starts making sense to me. And I'm like, uh-oh, what's going on here? Now, I knew there's no way he's getting out of this, but here's some of the finer points. Your Honor, I've been sober for X amount of months. The court did not order me to go to treatment. I decided I need to go to treatment. I'm assuming he had a crack problem, not a marijuana problem, not a drinking problem. He wasn't going to the spin dry. He was going to continued outpatient therapy for narcotics abuse. That was his first point that made sense. He took it upon himself. Now, somebody that's well-versed like me knows that there's many criminals that get busted for drugs all the time that go to treatment on their own without being told to before they have a court date, so it looks good to try to, get the judge on their good side. Mm-hmm. I think he's one of those. And then he says this, and honestly, Your Honor, I get that I'm no saint and that I've done bad in the past and I've served my time, but most of those calls came from the same neighbor, not a bunch of neighbors. And more importantly, why is it that the cops were called dozens of times, but I never got fined or arrested? And I went, okay, somebody came to play today. Sorry about judging your outfits, sir. Kudos.
He's like me, can't afford a jacket.
Well, think about that one. The cops get called to your house dozens of times. You never get arrested or charged.
What the hell?
So does that sound like...
It sounds to me like the police couldn't find anything to actually pin on you.
Could it maybe be that he has a neighbor that's up his ass, that's real uppity?
A neighbor doesn't want somebody around that has a history.
Or is of color, perhaps?
Well, you could go that far, I suppose.
So I guess one of these calls involved him backing a car into the neighbor's fence and knocking a section of it down.
Who hasn't had an accident before?
So he's like, and Your Honor, I fixed that fence the next day. I fixed it better than it was when I knocked it down because I replaced it with all new materials. And I'm like, okay, what the fuck is going on here? Is this guy winning me over now? Son of a bitch. He's a career criminal. Come on, think.
Stand up.
Stop
I
it.
object to his incarceration.
Stop it. Stop falling for this shit. So long story short, they sentence him to 180 days local confinement.
Kudos to him, making him give you doubt.
Right. And those are the types of things that I find fascinating because you watch the process in motion. This fucking public defender just kept saying, I just don't think that it's beneficial to him with all the... Like, he kept saying the same shit in different ways, and I wanted to go, we get it, you're out of material. Wave the fucking white
You
flag.
should have said that just so that you'd be like, order in the court.
Yeah, no, they won't do that. They'll warn me that I either need to leave or they'll hold me in contempt if I do it again. So that case, yeah,
They won't let you stay, huh?
he went to the clink, which led to the next case, which was even more interesting.
I don't know if I feel bad for him or not.
The point is you shouldn't, because he made his own bed, he can lie in it. If you do drugs and you surround yourself with other drug users, odds are you're going to get swept up into a litany of other situations that challenge your ability to stay clear-minded and free.
Yeah, just because he didn't get fined or arrested doesn't mean that he hasn't been doing shit.
Oh, yeah. So the next guy comes in. They march him from the back room. The back room, off to the side, is where they keep the people that are already in custody. So anyways, he comes in, and there's been this fucking idiot of a bitch sitting in the court, in and out multiple times, on her fucking phone. She can't stop leaving the room to play around on her phone. So I'm already like, I don't know what the hell she's here for, but I hope she's guilty. Turns out she was the victim of the guy. Turns out he's this short little fucking skinny black dude. Probably like 24, 25.
Kevin Hart?
No. No. But close. And here's the deal. So these two have history with domestic incidents of some sort, and she has a domestic abuse no contact order against him. So at some point, she called the cops and said he violated it. They arrested him. He has been held ever since. He goes before the court. And the prosecution's like, they have a history of this, that, and the other, and he apparently contacted the victim and harassed her, but claims he didn't do it. And then the defense takes over and goes, Your Honor, my client has been held for 47 days. 47 days. He has yet to be charged with a crime. And she's like, excuse me? Well, he's here because probation wants to violate him for the police contact per the terms of a previous arrest and conviction. But they haven't charged him with any sort of crime like violating the no contact order. It's been 47 days. They've brought no charges. Ample time has been given for them to do so, he's been sitting on a pending violation of probation. And I was like, what the fuck?
That's a long time.
Okay, the 3648 rule. Here's the short and skinny of it. You get arrested, you go before a judge within 36 hours of your arrest, not counting nights and weekends and holidays. They have 48 hours to charge you.
Okay.
So like I said, you must go before a judge within 36 hours. It's an initial Rule 8 hearing. You plead guilty or not guilty. And then at that time, they might determine whether bail is fit depending upon the infraction. But you have 48 hours from the time you're arrested to be formally charged. This rule came into play during the riots when the Republican National Convention was in town.
Mm-hmm.
They arrested a bunch of protesters, held them for 48 hours, then released them without ever charging them. That's a lot of fucking time and energy that SPPD put into this. And I was just like, what the fuck is wrong with you idiots? You arrested protesters and held them for 2 days and didn't charge them? Why? Just to teach them a lesson not to protest? They're going to protest twice as hard now because you just solidified in their mind that they were in the right for doing what they do against a party that they see as being unjust and a system that they think is fucked.
You're killing me, Smalls.
So now 47 days this guy's been sitting. He hasn't been charged with a crime. He should have fucking walked that day, in my opinion. So after the defense attorney says that, I'm just like, ha!
Holy shit!
Get your popcorn ready, prosecution. I can't wait to see what the fuck you got up your sleeve. And she's like, well, Your Honor, probation felt like due to the nature of the offense and his history. And then the judge kind of interrupted. She's like, I'm sorry, Miss So-and-so. I just want to, again, state no one at any time has submitted charges. No, Your Honor. Is anybody going to submit charges? Is it pending? I don't have that information, Your Honor. Which right there, I'd be like, well, fuck you then. Bye. Cut him loose. So the whole thing is based upon a he said, she said. 47 fucking days held because he's on probation.
Fuck!
So what do? They send him back to the room. They continue the hearing. He now has to sit in jail longer until the next time they have a hearing the week following to decide if they're going to formally press charges, because if not, they're cutting him loose. So imagine being locked up for 54 fucking days at that point for nothing.
God damn it.
And then that brings us to, I hate that these stories are all skewing one way, but another young black gentleman. He came in. He was the first one on the docket. They said he's not here. They're like, well, then should we issue a warrant for his arrest? Which they will do if you show a court date. They will issue a bench warrant for your arrest for failure to appear. His attorney goes, Your Honor, he is on his way. I know he is because he called me. There was a child care issue. She's like, oh, that's right. That's right. He does have small kids in school. Well, then, yeah, strike that from the record that I said to issue the bench warrant until we'll give him an hour to show up. He shows up within a half an hour. He goes before the court, and I forget what this charge was for, but this was a sentencing hearing. And she's like, here's what I want to say to you today, young man. I have it on good authority that you have kept clear of any gang activity, so he must have been running with gangbangers, and that you've been working gainfully. I know that you were only late today because you had to take the bus and you had your kids with you, and I'm not going to fault you for that. And I actually have in front of me a letter from your supervisor at Chipotle of how great you are and that you've been working so hard she's impressed enough to start fast-tracking you towards shift manager. Now, this is a young black dude who walks in with two little kids, toddler and a baby, and the baby's mom. But he also had other kids that were in school. So he's young and he's got a bunch of kids. That's a whole nother issue. But he's in the children's lives and he's working. So this is where the system actually succeeds at times, because she goes, I'm going to let you walk today with 5 years probation, which I know seems like a lot. But the main stipulation here is no same or similars, and you are to avoid any contact whatsoever with any known gang member, even if they're your family member. So that's a pretty razor-thin margin of error. if he's got family that bang. Because, holy shit, he gets caught at a barbecue with his cousin, who's a blood or a crip or something. And the court finds out, yeah, you're fucked. But she's like, I cannot see fit to take someone who was in the juvenile system like you were, who I will acknowledge started out disadvantaged, who has turned his life around, and you're an active and engaged and willing participant in your children's lives, and I am not going to take you away from them. They don't deserve that. You don't deserve that. Time served plus 5 years probation. And I was like, holy shit, that was awesome to get to see that. Because nobody realizes those things happen. Because all the news ever wants to tell you is some young black man got fucked over by the system, and oh, woe was us. There's all this pandemic racism going on. So he walks out, and he walks by me because he had been sitting next to me. And I just felt compelled to say, hey, man, congratulations and good luck. You know, he thanked me for saying that. It probably meant nothing to him, but I really, like, if I would have said, dude, I'm a former guard at a correctional facility, that's awesome that you turned it around. Maybe it would mean something. But I really wanted to drive home the point that, you know, you have to say good luck to these people sometimes when they're leaving. I would say that to a lot of individuals that would get out of the facility I worked at. And there were some people that were back all the time, and they'd leave, and they'd go, bye, Jay. And I'd go, see you next time. And I'd say it really quick. I'd wait. I'd wait for them to be like, bye, Jay. And I'd go, see you next time. And then they walk away, they go, oh, wait. Oh, man. Oh. You know, they'd laugh about it.
Because they know it's true.
And some people would be like, yeah, probably by Christmas. Like, they know they have to come back already for another charge. Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't live life like that.
Well, and this brings us to the final case of the day before I got to sit for the case of the client I was there for. This girl comes in. She's on crutches. I thought she had like an air boot, like she had a busted ankle or something. I didn't pay her any mind. She's sitting behind me. She hobbles up to the front when it's her turn. She's not wearing an air boot. She's missing half her fucking leg.
Holy shit!
And I believe it's a recent development, too. Which I came to figure out when she was talking to the judge.
Oh, really?
They talk about how, whatever charge she was there for, I didn't bother to memorize it. It couldn't have been too bad. They're like, you have been in treatment and sober for 6 months. We know that you're getting involved in a program so that you can get help with vocational rehab for employment, and that you'll soon be getting a prosthetic for your leg. I'm like, okay, I'm guessing she lost the leg, probably not the diabetes because she's not fat, but she's a drug skank and things happen. So she's kind of turned it around, and they just give her time served and probation. And then she hobbles out. And I'm like, well, hopefully she does still stay sober, because she knows that if she fucks up, she's got 22 months of hard time hanging over her head. She's got an incentive to get her shit together. I like to see those way more than people getting their just due. It ensures to me that the system is not black and white. It sees that gray area and it's doing its job. That judges are taking the time to really weigh the totality of the circumstances of the case in front of them. Mm-hmm. So that I'm not going, oh, so my tax dollars are just going so that you can throw the book at everybody, whether they deserve it or not. You've actually done your homework here.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the client that I was there for threatened to stab his group home staff with a knife, and he's sitting at possibly years in prison and thinks that he's going to get out of it with just probation. Never going to happen.
What happened?
Oh, the sentencing was the week after I was there.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, so I went there thinking, hoping, and it wasn't even my client. I went for my boss to see one of my boss's clients because I had an opening in my schedule. Figured I'd be out in 45 minutes. Fuck no, I was there 2.5 hours.
Ah, shit.
Yeah, but look at all the fun shit I got to see.
Yeah.
Yay! So if you ever get the opportunity to go and watch criminal court, they don't always ask you why you're there. If you show up right around the time they start the docket, you just sit in the back and just fucking slink down like you belong, they're not going to say shit. Unless they specifically ask you. And then you're like, oh, I was here to support so...
I'm just fascinated.
So, yeah, I don't know if they'll let you do that. Because when I was in high school, I had a class, and we went to the Hennepin County Courthouse and sat in a criminal court for an hour and just listened to different cases.
I had a friend who threw an empty bottle of cologne at his sister, and he spent 3 days in the Ramsey County jail.
Oh. Did the bottle break?
No.
Did he hit her?
He didn't even throw it that hard. Like, he just went, fucking thanks for using all my shit, and tossed it at her. It hit her in the chest, like it's gonna hurt. She had massive tits. And then she's just like, you just threw a bottle at me. He's like, yeah, so what? Used all my fucking cologne. And then his mom called the police, and she's like, I want him out of here. And they took him to fucking Ramsey County.
Jesus Christ. Classic overreaction.
They said it was, 5th degree assault.
Yeah, that's as fucking petty of an assault as you can get.
Talk is cheap, motherfucker.
So
That's dumb.
I should call him up and be like, hey, remember when you spent time in jail?
How old was he?
I think we were 17 years old.
He went
Yeah,
to
it
the
was
JDC.
juvenile.
Yeah.
It wasn't hard. Yeah, it was just juvie, but still.
Oh, terrific.
I was 18 because I had my car then. But he's a year younger than me, so.
Well,
So
don't
he
throw
was only
cologne bottles
17.
at your sister.
Well, maybe his
Or
sister-
maybe don't use all the cologne.
maybe his sister should be such a little whore.
Exactly.
Sexy, but whore.
Weird that you took it there, but interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It? That is at What Do We Call It? You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jman.
And I'm number one fan, Tim.
And that's the end.